All right, let's just get right into it. I want you to think right now about the last time you were on the edge of making a big decision. Maybe a trade, an investment, whatever it was. You were right there about to pull the trigger, and then you stopped. You didn't act.
And I'm sure you had a reason, right? In fact, you probably had a really good one. A logical, totally rational justification that made perfect sense.
Maybe it sounded something like this. The spread's a little too wide. Or, there's a news event just around the corner. Or even, you know what? This candle structure, it just isn't perfect. These all sound completely reasonable, don't they? They sound like smart, disciplined, analytical thinking. But let's ask the tough question. Was any of that the real reason? Or was there something else going on just under the surface? Something that was just dressing itself up to look like analysis? And this brings us right to the heart of the matter. This sneaky way that fear disguises itself. It doesn't show up as panic or terror. Nope. It shows up as cold, hard logic. And this is absolutely crucial. The most dangerous thing happening to your decision-making isn't that you're feeling fear. It's that you don't know you're feeling it. The fear is there, but it's wearing a mask. It's talking to you in a voice that sounds like reason, and because of that, you never even think to question it. Now, to get why this happens, you have to look at our wiring. Your brain's number one job, above all else, is just survival. And the amygdala, the little alarm system in there, well, it can't tell the difference between a real physical threat and a financial one. A chart going against you triggers the exact same survival chemicals, cortisol, adrenaline, as a predator in the dark. It's all the same to your brain. And because our brains are also incredible storytellers, they do this fascinating thing when that fear response kicks in. It's a process called confabulation. Basically, the brain instantly makes up a plausible, logical-sounding story to explain a decision that was actually based on pure, raw emotion. And it happens so fast, you 100% believe the story is the truth. And here's what that looks like in the real world. You said to yourself, the risk-reward isn't quite right. But what you really felt was, I'm terrified of taking another loss. You said, I'm seeing a shift in momentum. But what you felt was just panic. You told yourself, I'm being disciplined with my risk, when the truth was, your confidence was completely broken. Just let that sink in for a second. Every single one of those rational-sounding sentences, it's just fear, dressed up in a business suit, sitting at your desk and making decisions for you. Okay, so if that's the problem, what on earth is the solution? Well, this is where we can actually turn to some ancient wisdom for a really powerful way to reframe this whole thing. The Roman emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote these 5 simple words. Now, he wasn't saying to just ignore the obstacle or try to go around it. He was saying that the obstacle itself, that's the path forward. The resistance you're feeling, that actually contains the exact information you need. So let's try to flip this on its head. What if that feeling of hesitation, that sudden flood of logical reasons to stay out, what if it isn't your enemy at all? What if it's actually a map that's pointing you directly to the psychological work you need to be doing? And that means we have to stop asking the wrong question. We get stuck debating whether our excuses are logical or not, but that's a total trap. It keeps us on the surface, and it stops us from seeing what's really driving the bus. This is the question that changes everything. Instead of analyzing the excuse, you start analyzing the need for the excuse. Why, in this exact moment, does my brain feel like it has to protect me? What past failure is it desperately trying to keep from happening again? You see, fear just loves vagueness. It thrives in the dark, where it can hide behind that mask of logic and never get examined. The whole practice here is to drag it out into the light and give it a name. Not just, oh, I feel nervous, but I am specifically afraid of this outcome because of that past event. See, an honest problem can be solved. A disguised one can't. Okay, so how do we actually turn all this insight into a real practical skill? We have to move from just theory to actually practicing something we can call fear literacy. So what is fear literacy? It's the ability to catch that flicker of fear in real time, before your brain has a chance to build that whole logical story around it. And, just like any other skill, it's not something you're born with. It's built piece by piece through conscious, deliberate practice. Here's a super simple 3-step process to get you started. First, when you feel that hesitation, literally stop and write down the logical reason your brain is feeding you.
Second, ask yourself what I call the memory question. If I had zero memory of any past loss, would this reason still exist? If the answer is no, you're not dealing with logic, you're dealing with scar tissue. And third, track the cost. Go back later and journal what would have happened if you had followed your plan.
Now, that last step is incredibly powerful. Why? Because your mind is a master storyteller. It can spin up logical sounding excuses forever, but you know what it can't argue with? Data. When you see, right there in black and white, the actual cost of letting fear make your decisions, the disguise just starts to fall apart.
And all of this brings us to what real courage actually looks like in any high-stakes game. There's this huge misconception that courage means you don't feel any fear, but that's not it, not at all.
Real courage is just this. It's the ability to see the fear, to name it, to acknowledge that it's there, and then to execute your plan anyway because you've defined your risk and you trust your process. You see the fear, for sure, but you just don't let it take the wheel. So I want to leave you with the same exact question we started with, but now you have a new lens to look through. Think about that last big decision you backed away from. What was the real reason? Not the pretty one you told yourself. And hey, don't answer too quickly. Just take a moment and really sit with that question. Because whatever your first immediate logical answer is, well, that's probably still the disguise.